roles of each was clearly dominated by white Caucasian Americans. According to the Indian Appropriation Act of March 3, 1871, no longer was any group of Indians in the United States recognized as an independent nation by the federal government. Congress directed that all Indians should be treated as individuals and legally designated wards of the federal government. The Gilded Age indicates a time in which greed and corruption ran rampant, while displays of respectability, generosity, and reform provided a distracting overlay. One example is the growth of big business during this time period. Such advances in technology as the Bessemer process by which pig iron is forged into steel, made new products and industries possible. Ambitious men were able to amass huge fortunes aided by public officials who could easily be bribed, as well as government's reluctance to regulate the economy. Popular literature in 1876 included The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, about a naughty boy living in St. Petersburg, Missouri. Demographic changes in the 1870s include the population. Census takers reported over 39 million people in 1870, a gain of 26.6% over the preceding decade, as the immigrant tide surged again, according to the American Pageant. The United States was now the third largest nation in the Western world, ranking behind Russia and France. While talking about economic transformations in Grant's presidency, we gotta look at the Panic of 1873. A major economic reversal began in Europe and reached the United States in the fall of 1873. The single event in the United States was the failure of Jay Cooke and Company, the country's most prominent investment banking concern. For the environment, consider Yellowstone National Park. In 1873, it was made the first national park in the world. While discussing globalization, we should talk about what happened in 1868. Cuban rebels tried revolting under Spanish rule. Most Americans wanted to support the rebels, but Grant did not want to enter in a war with Spain due to their situation with Reconstruction. Congress tried passing an act which was for involvement in the war, but Grant quickly urged them to reconsider, and the act was turned down. Instead, peace talks were arranged in order to secure Cuba from Spain, but they failed, and Spain regained full control over the region. When talking about politics and citizenship, one of Grant's policies was the peace policy. It was an attempt to integrate Native Americans with white civilization, and as Grant said, Indians were the original occupants of this land. Reform in Grant's presidency is the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment gave blacks the right to vote. During Grant's presidency, religion flourished. After African Americans were emancipated, they fled to churches or even made other churches with their African customs mixed with Christian customs. The limits of slavery in Grant's presidency involved a constant bickering with the KKK. He passed the Force Acts in order to reduce the KKK's involvement. In 1871, American, British, and Canadian negotiators met in Washington, D.C. to discuss the Alabama crisis, British involvement in the war, and Canadian border disputes. The Treaty of Washington was quickly made, with which resulted in a $15.5 million compensation towards America. Grant's legacy as president was definitely made with his win at the Potomac's courthouse. Back then, if you were a high general and if you did well out in the battlefield, you were saw as fit to be president, and this was the case in this election. Thank you for watching. This has been Connor Moody.